Welcome back to the channel, a returning guest and one of the longest drivers in the world, Ryan Gregnol. If it's your first time here at the channel, I'd love if you could head below, like, subscribe, turn on notifications so every Friday afternoon when we pop out a new episode, it'll be right there for you. Or if you'd prefer the audio version of this, head over to wherever you stream podcasts, give us a follow there, rate, subscribe, all of that good stuff. But yeah, Ryan Gregnol, the 2020 Canadian Long Drive champ. We're going to talk a little bit about his lead up to the PLDA World Championships, battling the likes of Martin Borgmeier, Bryson DeChambeau, and ultimately the longest player in the world, Kyle Berkshire. If you're not already following us on OTS Golf, please head over to Instagram and do so. We'd really appreciate it. But let's get into the episode. We're back with Ryan Gregnol, repeat guest on the Screws podcast. Ryan, we chatted a little while ago, shortly after you finished the Canadian Championships, I guess, right? So I think it was. So
Yeah.
any of our new listeners who maybe didn't tune into that one, can you give us an idea who you are? Obviously, you're fresh off the PLDA Championships, so we can hop
Yeah.
right into it.
Yeah. So basically, long drive wise, I live in Kitchener. I play at a golf country club. Played around I think I was down to a 4.2 this year index. Not really great, but played a lot. Had a lot of fun.
So
Um,
long drivers can golf. I like it.
yeah,
Okay.
like here and there, yeah.
Yeah,
Depending how much focus you put on it versus how much focus you put on long drive, because they are drastically different things.
for sure.
Um, so yeah, played a lot of golf beginning of the year because we were unsure of what was going to happen with the season. Kick it back for long drive. I started that in 2008. Made worlds every year until 14, I believe. Took a few years off personal reasons. Came back in 19. 2019, I ended up having my best year. Went and made the top 16. Then the following year, COVID hit. Late spring or late fall, sorry, or I guess Labor Day weekend. Essentially, we had the Canadian Championships in 2020, and I won that. And then we weren't sure again what was going to happen this year. Then the PLDA, the new kind of players professional league that was developed because during 2020 COVID, the Golf Channel shut us down, put us up on the sale block essentially.
Yeah.
So the PLDA was formed by the players for the players. It's an organization run essentially by a handful of players and organizers that are involved with the sport, trying to grow the sport and everything like that. So yeah, they announced that they were going to do a world championship. We kind of figured that it wasn't going to be, possible for everybody to make it with COVID restrictions and stuff like that. But they announced it early enough out that some people were, figured out a way to get there. There was a strong Asian contingent that came, a few of us from Canada, a fellow from Germany. I think there was 11 or 12 countries represented total.
Not bad.
And so 130 players total, I think, 80 in the open division, which was where I competed. Then there was a senior division and a women's division. And then, yeah, we held that 2 weeks ago now, I
Nice.
guess.
Yeah. So we're gonna try and pop this out. We're having a chat on Thursday night here, so which is the 14th. We're gonna try and pop it out tomorrow, so it is pretty fresh.
Yeah.
And I can say like from the fan experience. So I'm in my mid 30s now, been around the game a long time. So I was lucky enough as a Canadian to see Jason Zuback. So we were talking about Jason Zuback and just
Yeah.
like how polarizing he was in the long drive world. And we talked about the Christmas Day, like being
Yeah.
played on TSN and whatnot. So this was the most excited I've been, and it's probably as a fan of yours. Like you and I have built up a friendship over
Yeah.
the last little while, so I'm kind of following you. And Sarah did a great job. Sarah is Ryan's fiance, did a great job kind of posting for all of your fans to be able to follow along. But also they had a live stream this year, which was really cool. In today's world, that's something that a lot of us are looking for, is a way that we can just pop onto YouTube, watch for a few minutes, go pick up our groceries, whatever it is, come back, throw the YouTube back on. So I know they had talked about a couple things already for next year, kind of working out some things with the,
Yeah.
TrackMan shot tracers, a couple other things. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. Maybe you can give us an idea of what some of those things might be. But you want to talk right about the event? You want to get right into it? And
Yeah.
can you?
Like,
I kind of wanted to go into like the qualifying. So assuming we don't know how you qualified, if you could let us know kind of how that process works,
sure.
maybe your prep, the build up to the event. We got to talk about Bryson and
Yeah.
unfortunately the injury. So
Yeah.
maybe take it away, Ryan. Just give us the
Yeah.
whole background.
So initially, what the PL, we'll start with qualifying. So initially, what the PLDA was trying to do was host qualifying events throughout the year in different locations from like a grassroots level.
Okay.
What they had a hard time doing was in a short amount of time finding enough organizers that would essentially fill a field because they wanted to have, I believe it was 128 people in the beginning to fill the field, to have enough people there and kind of make it run that way. They even tried to purposely go the online route and use About Golf simulators and do qualifying with the About Golf simulator program. I think they didn't find enough people that were kind of willing to try that out, or
Right.
in some states it was available, other states it wasn't. The simulators had to be uploaded to their cloud type of thing for everything to match up. So I believe there were a few people that qualified for the regional. So they were trying to do a local, a regional, and then from the regional you qualify for world. So a 3-tier process. So what they ended up doing at tour events was 2 days or a day before the tour event, they would run qualifying. So they'd qualify X amount of people in, and then so many people from that would move to the next step. And then they would take, I believe it was 2 or 4 hitters from each one of those would then qualify for Worlds.
Okay.
Which was very similar to what World Long Drive did when Golf Channel owned it. They would basically have events prior to tour events. And so it would kind of be a 2-for-1 stop for a lot of guys. They would try and get in their qualifying, and then they'd participate in the tour event. I had an exemption through my finish in 2019. So they offered out basically exemptions to the top 25 ranked hitters plus anyone else who made the top 16. So I think I was ranked 29th or 39th on the rankings by the time the end of the year was done that year. And so I was one of the 25 that ended up being 27 people who got exempt through finishing or finishes a previous year. Other exemptions were, top 8 finishes, the year before that, winners for 5 years prior. And I think that was it. There wasn't a huge exemption. And then partway through this process, they kind of was like, hey, we got to expand the field. An announcement was made. A certain individual that we'll get to was then, said to be coming. He announced he was to be coming. So then they're like, okay, we have to open this up. We have to, set a deadline, all this. And so they ended up making it a buy-in for, a few other people. So there were some qualified people, and then some people chose to buy in to fill. They only wanted to do 64 spots in the beginning.
Okay.
They ended up stretching that to 80 because they had so many people that wanted to get in. And actually, I found out that the 80th person in ended up finishing third. Hey. So Bryce Verplank in his very first event ended up being the last person on board to get in because someone couldn't make it or something. It was basically the very last spot, and the guy ended up coming up from Texas by himself, finishing third place. Kind of drivers built that day.
Good for him, man.
Yeah,
good for him. That's a pretty incredible feat.
Yeah. Like that's where it's wild because you never know who's gonna show up, and you never know. Like you always hear the stories, right? Like, oh, my buddy's really long, blah blah blah. But like sometimes they really are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sometimes that's just a true fact, and they show up and they find the center of the face. A lot of them, they're good golfers, so they have good golf swings. So now it's just putting a little more heat on that golf swing. And I guess he explained to someone else on a live stream, or I can't remember where I heard it, but he's like, yeah, they put me on TrackMan and just told me to swing as hard as I could. And he's like, I swung 147. And I'm like, well, that's really good. Like for not really knowing what you're doing, swinging as hard as you can. So yeah, that was the qualifying process. Now,
can we talk about your prep a little bit? I don't mean to cut you off if there's still more to qualifying, but a lot of the viewers or listeners here, whether you're watching it on OTS Golf or on the Screws podcast over on YouTube, if you are, please subscribe. I appreciate it. But if you're kind of listening into it in your car on Spotify, a lot of what goes through my mind is how would you kind of prepare for an event like this? Because like you said, I hear how a lot of the qualifications go, and it sounds a lot like golf. Like it does. Like you
Yeah.
win, it's not like if you win the Masters and you play in it the rest of your life, but if you
Right.
win like a PGA Tour event, you get a couple years of exemption, right? Like it sounds to have a similar structure in that like that type. But you were the I think finished top 16 in 2019, right?
Yeah.
So you knew that you were going to be in this event, and so how did you kind of gear up? How'd you get ready? I know you have like a powerlifting background and stuff like that,
Yeah.
so you'd be used to competing in events. Just kind of curious how you approached it.
Yeah, so it was a little different this year. I picked up a lot of speed in the off season. So the one thing that I can say is personally, and everybody's different because everybody's neurological system is different and they recover differently. So when I was swinging at 142, 143, like I was in 219, I recovered a lot faster. Now I picked up this extra speed over the winter, and again, we went into COVID, and then we weren't sure what was happening with the long drive season, so I was just playing golf and having fun and whatever. Right, Friday night nine and dines, and Saturday morning beers and whatever on the course. Like it was just we were having a good time.
Of course.
So then August long weekend, we had our club championship, and I said after that, I'm full bore. This next 8 weeks is basically going to be my peaking, like we would do for a powerlifting meet or something, similar to an event where you ramp everything up to peak at a certain time. So at week 5, we actually had the Canadian Long Drive Championships where I ended up coming in second, and my good friend Jeff Gavin, who ended up winning the senior division at Worlds.
Right.
Nothing to be ashamed of there. Jeff's a great hitter. He's been around forever. At 53 years old, he's still one of the fastest in the country. So as for prep, basically I started out, okay, we're going to go hit 30 balls. Okay. Next session, which would be 2 days later after I felt recovered, go and hit 60 balls, kind of ramp it up till I was about 120 drivers as hard as I could, without losing speed. The biggest thing I've taught myself is once you start to slow down, you're not doing your body any good.
Right.
Then, your rhythm's going to fall off. Your timing's going to fall off. You're going to get frustrated. I always practice purposely on a TrackMan or a GC quad. I'm very competitive within myself. I had someone ask me today, they're like, how have you gotten faster as you've gotten older? And I just said, well, the technology is now available to me that it wasn't when I was younger. So now every time I hit a ball, I see a number.
Yeah,
now,
so yeah, you can exactly. So you can tell if it's getting better, or
yeah,
you might feel like you're having a great day, but you're not seeing the results, or vice versa, right? Like it's funny.
exactly.
As you mentioned this, I don't mean to add this quote in, but I saw something on IG today, and Dustin Johnson made a quote about somebody asked him like about being on the driving range and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I guess he left early today, and he said, "Oh, sometimes when I get bored, I just leave."
Yeah.
So
and I walked out of speed days. I've literally just been like, nope, not there today, and walked out.
yeah,
Because you can grind, you can push. And if I was younger, maybe. Like I kind of joke I was the oldest guy in the top 16 this year. But I don't recover as I used to. So
of course.
that's just something that goes with the territory. And with this newer speed coming later in life, it takes a longer time for me to recover.
So are you using like the speed stack or anything? Like are you using any like devices?
No,
No.
I threw in a few speed days here and there,
Okay.
but I found for me personally, I'm probably going to do a little more over the winter, because now with what ended up happening, we might have a really good season next year. But I think for me, the best thing for me is just hitting balls and repeatedly hitting balls. That's what I found. The stuff in between, I mean, we'll talk about injury and stuff like that and what's going to come with that. But for me, maybe once every 2 weeks, because you have to be neurologically prepared for that day. That's what I've always found with speed sticks is you're pushing your body up and above a percentage that it's not used to going. And I mean, this is, again, I get very Bryson with things when it comes to how my body works and how I recover and how our neurosystem works and how it recovers, which we don't know. I can just by feel.
Right.
So you're putting your body, when I'm swinging a super speed stick, say the lightest one on my little red machine thing, I'll swing it up to 170 miles an hour, where my golf club is roughly 150 miles an hour. So if you want to take that percentage difference to how much faster my body then has to move, the recovery from that is a lot more, which is why speed stick sessions are generally really short. Like they're only 30 swings tops.
Right. Okay.
And
So
usually both sides and all that stuff.
you did a really, really good job at explaining this before, kind of like to, somebody who might just be kind of getting introduced into long drive or interested in it. So in our last episode, I'll link it in the description below. Go over and have a listen, especially if you're enjoying this episode with Ryan here, because you did. Well, we got new software now, so I think this quality is going to be a little bit better than the old stuff. But you did a great job. I remember getting off the call and thinking, like, even just how much, as like a seasoned golfer, that I know how much I learned about the game. So maybe we can get into the event. It was obviously, for some reasons, kind of maybe the biggest event of your life, or
Yeah.
Long drive in general. Like, I know we talked back with the Remax long drive, Jason Zuback, and kind of, so it brought that hype that we haven't seen in a long time. So how was the event for you? Can we get into it? Because I got a total clickbait thumbnail here with the battling Bryson here. So I got to make sure this
Absolutely.
doesn't get pulled down from YouTube. We got to talk about it a little bit. So how was the event? What was it like meeting Bryson? It's always got to be cool to go and connect with guys like Martin. Like, he looks like such a character, and Tyga, and Kyle Berkshire, of course. Like, very very different personalities there. But what was it like for you? And you went down with Sarah for the weekend, or the week. So how was the event in general? Let's hear about it.
Yeah. So unlike Golf Channel ran events, this was very raw.
Right.
You were there, and you were there to hit, and you knew when you were going to hit. Everything was organized very, very well. The PLDA did an extremely good job of keeping you up to date and knowing when you were going to go, and everything like that was great. The raw feeling was more of, when the Golf Channel was involved, there was a lot of politics with TV commercial, blah, blah, blah. This was just like, you're up, let's go. It's time to hit it. And having the YouTube live the entire time was absolutely amazing. I mean, people can go back and watch basically every round I hit in. It's now on the Pro Long Drivers YouTube. Every round anyone hit in, anyone that you're a fan of, literally is on their YouTube from now until they pull it down, which I doubt they ever will.
So how was it, Ryan, for you personally, with your friends and your fans and family, everybody that wanted to connect with you? Did you like that experience maybe more than you like the televised version of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, it was awesome because I could focus on what I was doing even more so, because everybody could watch because of what the PLDA did.
Right.
They understood the qualifying, how many rounds, how many balls, the time limits, all that stuff. Obviously, there's some kinks that, we're going to talk about, and that hopefully can be figured out for next year. That'll make the viewing experience even better. But for their first go around, I think they did an amazing job, which then made me feel like it was a lot more fun. Right. I had a great time. The fans, I mean, we got to talk about Bryson, obviously. Like, he brought the people to long drive. Let's just, even with the Golf Channel, what they were trying to do and what they accomplished, they never charged anyone any money. This was the first time long drive charged a $10 gate fee, and people literally had no problem paying it whatsoever.
Yeah, like I had a couple, like they kind of scanned the crowd. They actually posted something on IG today, like a throwback Thursday with like a sold out crowd, which was amazing to see, because that's how I remember kind of seeing it back in the day. And they'd pan to the crowd. It looked like being at like a wrestling event or something like that, right? Which was kind of the vibe that I feel like it'd be so good to hit in that experience. But you also said that there was like a couple tough components of that too, right? With people swinging, cheering, and it's like, I compare it to, like I saw you and Sarah went to a baseball game. So like, okay, let's say somebody comes up and they hit a pop fly. 90% of the fans in the building think it's going out when it's like, it's 200 feet, right? So it's the same thing. So like, it doesn't matter if somebody hits it 315 or if somebody rips it OB, like they're still cheering, right? So with our last discussion, you talked about kind of, being frozen and the lights kind of kicking on after the commercials. So what was the difference for you personally on the T block?
I think now on the T block, you know, the crowd was more engaged. I think that's what the big thing was. It was either the players were more engaging, so a lot of big personalities like Bryson just coming from the Ryder Cup. You know, we've seen him on the first tee at the Ryder Cup. You know, pull the driver out, hold it up. Essentially, he was like that was Bryson. That's who he is. That was him on the tee box. I got lucky enough to be on it with him. I think we were in the same group twice.
Man, I was
For
listening to the Full Send podcast with Nelk Boys, and he was
yeah,
he was saying like because he on the first tee on the final day of the Ryder Cup he drove the green and then
yeah.
takes his putter and walks off like it's like I don't know like Thor's hammer or something, right? So
Yeah.
he talked about how that was like such a cool experience, and I like that part about Bryson. Like I know a lot of people say okay like Bryson's like weird or unique or whatever, but like
Right.
that's the part that I love to embrace about Bryson is because like we don't see that from other people,
Yeah.
mind you. Like he had a 417-yard drive
Yeah.
in the Ryder Cup. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of curious how that sort of translated to the event for you.
Yeah. I mean, that part of Bryson that you see with the putter and that's who I think he really is. That's my personally like
Hey
from
man, he
my
did say it,
experience.
right? He said it. He said like
Yeah.
at one point he said I had more fun here than I did at the Ryder. He and then immediately kind of didn't even finish the Ryder Cup. He kind of walked it back. Really
Yeah.
smart guy, so he understood what he was saying, but we heard him say that he enjoyed the long drive event more, and that is totally Bryson. Like you can tell, that's like he's in his wheelhouse there, right?
Well,
So
and you know, he was I don't want to say like a kid in a candy store, but that was his, you know, he was smiling, he was engaged, you know, he stayed after, signed every autograph that anyone asked him to, took pictures with everybody. You know, the consummate professional.
yeah,
That's, you know, the exact, you know,
that's a
the
great way
team.
to articulate it, Ryan. Like that's exactly. He seemed like a kid in a candy shop, like
Yeah.
genuinely enjoyed what he was doing, right? So that's
Oh
cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
And he was on the like, you know, he's on the tees out for dinner and he's smiling and full of life the whole time.
yeah,
I mean, obviously there's a lot less stress for him, I'm sure, in something like this than, you know, playing the FedEx Cup for $15 million in a 6-hole playoff with Patrick Cantlay. You know, obviously two different things, or seven, whatever many holes they played, I don't
yeah.
even know. But they're two different, I'm sure, stresses where this, you know, like even if he won, it was 50K, which probably I'm gonna guess he would have donated back in anyways. But he wasn't there for that. That wasn't his purpose. You know, he was like, if he won, well, that would have maybe sent the whole long drive world in a whole nother spin. But he did really well. The conditions he admitted they favored him for a couple days. And then, you know, as the event went on, he managed to figure a little more out, a little more out. His team with Cobra, they figured a little more out every day. Because you got to remember, like, the equipment he was using isn't what he uses on an everyday basis.
Right.
Right.
So let me ask you, why did it favor him more than it would you or like any of the other pros? Like, why would it favor a guy like Bryson more?
Well, that's when I say consummate professional, like, I go to work every day. You know, I hit balls twice a week. I'm considered a professional because I play for money. When I look at what Bryson, and this was very eye opening for me this week, was what I would consider now to be a true professional in long drive. You know, unlimited resources, as many balls as you ever want, as
Yeah.
many drivers as you can pick from. You know, the ability to have the practice that he's had for since he was what 10 years old, 8 years old, who knows, whatever.
Yep.
But with his ability then and his golf ability, obviously top what 7, 6, 7 ranked in the world now. He can flight a golf ball. So two of the 4 days the wind was coming in, and those were like the breakdown days. So your top 64 to your top 32, your 32 to your top 16. So the 64 to 32 and the 32 to 16 days, the wind were into us. Well, now we have probably in as far as the field goes, the best ball striker in the field would be Bryson. I mean, you can't really argue that. Who can also flight a golf ball however he so chooses, right to left to right, up, down, and you give him 6 whacks at it.
Right.
So, you know, Bryson flighting a ball into the wind is probably going to have more chances of hitting the grid than me trying to flight the ball into the wind.
Yeah. And like, how wide is the grid, Ryan?
60 yards that was. So
So
in long drive, they vary from 40 to 60 depending on venue.
Yeah, I think before you had mentioned, I think the Canadian Championships was 40, but like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like, there is no debate at this time. Bryson is the best golfer there. Like with
Oh yeah.
anyone, you can put together a combination of any team.
Yeah.
He will beat them. So, like, I'm
Yeah.
even thinking back to last year, first time ever, and this is why I don't want to take away from anything that Bryson did, and even just like the light that it shone on the sport, because for me as a fan, it was amazing to see. But last year on the PGA Tour, this was the first time ever somebody led the tour in driving distance and strokes gained putting, right? Or strokes gained
Yeah.
off the tee and strokes gained putting. So,
Yeah.
and then he brought it to the long drive and finished in eighth. I think he finished in top eight,
Sixth. Yeah. I think he was sixth at
sixth.
the end of it. Yeah.
So some things factored in there. My guy Ryan here got injured right before that, so or Bryson bumped up a couple spots, but it does kind of fascinate me to see, like, when I was listening to the live stream, they were saying, "Oh, Bryson 6 for 6," and
Yeah.
that's something that was seemed to be a bit shocking. So you said the two guys that were, well, they had different commentators on at times, but
Right.
they were all long drive hitters, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
all the guys commentating were part of the event or in the event for the most part.
they all seemed to be fascinated with the fact that he was going 6 for 6, and
Yeah.
like, it's something obviously you see, but it's not as common. Plus, to be able to put out that kind of distance. So, is that something that we think we might see more in the long drive game now? Or are we going to see more like tailored golf or polished golfers? You think?
I think so. I think I've started to see it, over the past 3 to 4 years that I've
Okay.
come back. Um, I mean, I've been trying to get my swing more tailored as a golf swing to get into the right positions, to come through impact. But these, you're seeing guys that, because they're in the right position throughout the entire swing, it's easier for them to generate more power being in those positions. So it's just, it's mentally getting them to swing harder. That's,
Right.
getting them to let go and getting them to feel more free in their swing, kind of as Bryson did through the week, right? Like they said, he was 210 to 214 at the beginning of the week. And then by the end of the week, he was 218, 219. He was probably the only guy that got faster through the week, where most of us were getting tired and sore. And,
Yeah.
I was getting beat up, or I'd been beat up and whatever.
Except Berkshire, right? Like you were saying, it was like he just like,
Well, that's just, if you could
yeah.
literally go to a lab and be like, I'm going to build a long driver, you're not going to be far off from having Kyle Berkshire at the end, regardless.
Yeah. So we're talking about the there's no debate, like the longest hitter in the world, and we are just kind of
Yep.
talking about flighting the ball. So for anybody who
Yeah.
doesn't know, I don't know that anybody flights a ball like Kyle Berkshire does, especially with like his irons and stuff. It is something that's just
Yeah.
insane to watch, and he's a plus handicapper too, right? So he's
Yep.
a good golfer. He's working on his game, and like I love seeing like that raw part of Kyle, like when he posts his YouTube videos of him like getting, he gets a little frustrated,
Oh, yeah.
and his short game is obviously trying to match his short game up with his long game is going to be
Yeah.
difficult. And I know there's a stigma and all of that, but like, you got to get, like, he's an incredible wedge player, an incredible putter. It's just when he's hitting the ball so far, that's kind of overshadowing what he does. So I'm getting off track here, but I really do like watching, I really do like watching Kyle Berkshire play. So can you explain how those guys would have the advantage, or yourself too, like being one of the better long drive hitters in the world and being able to, when you're into the wind or you're downwind, like I think the first day one was downwind, or day two.
Yeah.
And so what is flighting the ball for anybody who might not understand it,
Right.
and how do you work that into your swing, and how do you work that into how you approach your grid or your block or whenever it is?
Yeah. So, I mean, we work a lot on, I mean, you're getting technical on things, our angle of attack. So, how much we hit up on the ball, versus, and now PGA players are starting to do it more with their driver. But basically, you hit down on an iron, you hit up on your driver,
Right.
right? That's simple. So, you want to be a positive angle with your driver. But then when we're into the wind, how positive do you want to be versus your launch conditions? So, I mean, Berkshire is an easy example of this, right? He basically wants to hit the same ball all the time, which works obviously pretty damn good.
Yeah.
He tees it pretty high, hits it on the up around 8 to 10, I believe. Launches it anywhere from 13 to 16
Degrees, right? Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And his spin is literally always under 2,000 unless he mishits it.
Right.
So the day it was downwind, Kyle was
Sorry,
in the,
that's crazy to think about
yeah,
those stats.
and
So
I mean 155, 225, like club head speeds 155. He almost touched 160 this week.
yeah,
He was, I think, logged at 159 and change, where like I've had that number come up on TrackMan, but I'm like, that's a mystery. There's no way that's accurate. Where when he did it, I'm like, yeah, it's probably real. So yeah, that's for him. Example, Tuesday week, he was in the middle of the biggest downwind that we had all week, and he hit one out there 455. So that was, kind of like, all right, well, that's pretty big.
yeah,
The next morning, he's in the first group who had the hardest wind that we dealt with all week, and his biggest drive of the whole morning was 328. So we're talking 130 yards difference in someone who's the longest hitter in the world. And then we're getting people watching the live feed at that point, and you can go to the comments and be like, well, I can do that. And it's like, not into like a 20-mile-an-hour headwind, you can't.
right.
You know.
So for you, if you're hitting like as a pro,
Yeah.
and again, so this was that comment that you had made a little bit about, like, you have a job. This is you're a pro because you play for money, and Kyle has been able to, and like Martin, Bryson, if you want to include him, Tim Burke, a few of the other guys, they've been able to like
Yeah.
make this a career, which is
Yeah.
hopefully what that many eyes on the event this past weekend will hope do for a lot more players, right? So
Yeah.
if you are like, if you're to pick a grid, like obviously Mesquite, Texas is kind of the home along, or Mesquite, Texas, Mesquite,
Nevada. Yeah.
Nevada is kind of the home along drive. Now, if you could pick a perfect condition, what would that be for you? Like if you're to kind of walk up to the tee and you're in an event, how do you want it to be?
If we're playing for money and we're not just out there trying to hit the best ball of our entire life, because obviously the best ball of our entire life, yeah, let's huck it downwind 40 mile an hour and
Right.
see if it pops over 500. But I'm a neutral condition guy. I am, even playing field for everybody. Let's just bring what you brought and see what happens. That's my, I don't need or want a favoring of either side. Do I do well into the wind? Yeah, I can. Do I do well downwind? Yeah, I could. But I prefer neutral conditions. I prefer when, the flags are just down. That's what I like, is that way there's much less variables and a gust picking up, because, that's it happens, like the wind can die for 15 seconds while your ball's in the air for 10, and, all of a sudden you roll it a yard by your next buddy and you got 100 more points than he did, and you're going to the Sweet 16 or the Final 8 and he's not.
Yeah.
And that's long drive. Before we sign up, we accept those things prior to the event actually starting.
Well, I guess, that is like, there's a direct correlation with golf in that sense that every day is going to look different. There's a reason why somebody goes out and shoots a 61 one day and, the next day they shoot a 69 or 70 or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And but we don't see that in all sports. Like when you play basketball inside or indoors, like the conditions are the same. They don't change, right? Or if you play, in an indoor stadium, if you're playing like any other sport, it doesn't matter. Hockey, it's all kind of regulated to the same conditions. So I do like that. I do like that you would want to have an equal playing field, because it should give you an accurate number of who the best players are in the world at that point. There's no favors, nothing changing it on that side. But can we talk about the injury a little bit? So I know we talked a little bit when you got back, and where's it at now? What happened? And kind of how was it coming home? Because I saw the photo of you on the flight, and can you give us an update? Do you mind?
Yeah, no. So if anyone wants to watch it, which I totally your call, fair warning right here, it ain't pretty. 8 hours and 32 minutes into the finals on the PLDA. YouTube broadcast is where it starts. Then at about 8:34, you see the end.
Disclaimer, if I can find it, I'm about to drop over on YouTube. I'm about to drop the clip of it here. So if you don't like, turn away.
So basically what ends up happening, we get there Monday. We just do a little warm-up day, me and Gavin together, kind of everyone on the range, and we're going about our stuff, and something kind of twinges, and I kind of ignore it, and it's right in my right groin. Um, I'm just like, whatever. I'll just take it easy, throw some ice on it. It'll probably be gone by tomorrow. Went up golfing in St. George's with Sarah. Basically, just caddied for her while she played around some nice mountain valley course. Didn't get any better. Kind of like the card, it was actually getting a little more annoying. Blah blah blah. Week goes on. I'm kind of dealing with it through every day. You know, Wednesday to Thursday felt okay. You know, Thursday night when I was done, I kind of woke up at 4 in the morning with like just some not comfortable pain or some very uncomfortable pain in certain regions. Um, but I had the finals the next day, and it is what it is. You know, it's like I said, right? You don't go in a Stanley Cup final with of healthy roster. There's going to be some injuries along the way, and you kind of got to deal with it. So
it was an adductor tear. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was. Okay. It was basically, it looks to be a sports hernia in the upper half, and then which ended up basically on the tee box through the rounds on Friday in the final. The adductor getting so tight to the point where I couldn't drive off my right leg, and then basically on my, I think it was third ball with Bryson standing behind me, it popped. Went down. Basically, I needed to either finish first or second. There's a whole bunch of things that happened that last set that could have and would have changed a whole bunch of things. Basically, I win the set. I'm in for sure to the final 8. Bryson needed to win. Josh Koch needed to win to have a chance. Me finishing third put me on the bubble, but I only had 3 swings in and I was out anyways. There was no way I was getting back up there no matter what, even if I was in. But there was a lot of jumping around in that last set for guys to get in. I think it came down to Justin James's last ball in the very last group for him to guarantee him a spot to the final 8. So he was 0 for 5, hit his last ball in. So that final 16, that was a group of hitters where it's never been that close in speed. I think all the hitters were basically 150 miles an hour, except maybe Bryson, but his ball striking more than made up for that, and he was still in the high 140s. I think he ended up putting 219 ball speed up that day, which was his highest ever recorded for him personally. But yeah, so hip pops or groin pops, adductor pops, I go down, I get taken off the tee box, basically sat down, and I was flying home the next day, so I wasn't about to worry about the American healthcare because we had to fly out anyway. So I'm like, I'll just hit emerge. Basically, what it looks like and what I've been told, which it's been getting a lot better this third week or second week, whatever we're at now. First couple days weren't very good. Obviously, it was very painful. A lot up in the air with not knowing if the tendon was torn or not. I've torn a muscle before. I've torn my pec, so I've kind of had these feelings in the past. But yeah, it was some heavy narcotics for the first couple days, and then I got rid of those as fast as I could. And hopped on Tylenol because they didn't want me on Advil because the blood thinning and stuff like that. And yeah, so as of right now, I might be able to say I could swing a club maybe in 6 to 8 weeks moderately, which is better than what I thought originally. I was more of like the 12 to 14 weeks originally.
Yeah.
It's
good to hear. It's good to hear you'll be back, because I've torn a triceps before, and I know we were talking right when you got back, and I've had a groin pull slight, like I was a goalie playing hockey. It wasn't terrible, but like I still have like a deep like half inch, maybe not half inch, of being a bit dramatic, but maybe like half a centimeter, like I don't know, kind of like a stretch mark almost, like in the groin from that, and it just kind of turns your stomach a little bit. Doesn't feel good talking about it. So I'm glad to hear you're doing all right. Glad to hear that you're feeling better, and that you'll be back, because
oh, absolutely,
that's part of You said that this was the funnest event you've ever played in, and
Oh,
I'm really curious to see not just what happens with, long drive next year, but what happens with you as well. So
yeah.
with wrapping up the event and your qualifying prep, the event, Bryson, all of this unfortunate injury, is there anything that you would change in the event for next year? If you could make suggestions, sorry, it's
Yep.
for the players, by the players,
Yep.
this tour, so, or PLDA. So some of the things, like I know we talked about ball color, stuff like that. Like, is there
Yep.
anything that you might change for next year to make the experience better for yourself? And then anything that you might make, I don't know if you followed how the viewers or fans or
Yeah,
anything that you might change for
I
that.
went and read stuff. Yeah. Well, the nice part is the PLDA is sending us out a survey to all the hitters, kind of basically asking, what could we do?
That's a
What,
great idea. Yeah, that is.
they're looking, and they're not scared. They're not afraid to make a change or something like that. My guess is, if possible, the blue ball might go.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I did
is the
hear them.
blue
I
ball
did
is
hear them
very
mention.
different.
Yeah, they mentioned that on the live feed a bit. So anybody who hasn't watched the live feed, go over to the PLDA and just check it out. Like, even just go give them a click. It really helps them on YouTube. Like, all of those things definitely help them. So go subscribe, give them a click, check out some of the videos. But we couldn't see it. Like, when we're watching, like, I'm
Yeah.
watching the live feed and I got it up on the TV, 65 inches, whatever it is. I still can't see the different color balls, but
Yeah.
as a player, you can, right? So
Yeah. So that's where we as players, so as you guys can see it, we're 4 at a time hitting. And then behind us, we have our ball callers. So they're the ones that watch where our ball goes. Then out in the grid, we have two ball callers for our color on each side of the grid, who then walkie talkie or head mic or however they're doing it. I'm sure it's a little more than walkie talkie now. But they're calling, okay,
yeah,
that one's,
there's going to be a couple
you
people
know,
listening to this podcast
yeah,
right now saying, "What
what's a
the?
walkie talkie?
Yeah, what is a walkie-talkie, Ryan?" But
Well,
luckily, I know
born in the
what you're
80s.
talking about. Yeah, so yeah,
Um, so yeah, they call back the number and then they put it into the iPad and the number gets posted on the screen beside the tee box.
okay,
So, for each color, we like to see where, like, I would kind of want to know if where I hit that one, whether, I missed 5 yards left, 10 yards left, 30 yards left, or 10 yards, 15, 20 yards right, just so I can kind of make an adjustment to my set. So the blue ball, we were all kind of having a little bit difficult time picking it up in the air. I remember one set I went through my first four balls and I was like, I literally have no idea where any of those went. And
yeah.
I'm like, they're like left. I'm like, okay, but like, how far left? They're like,
Well, yeah, it's no different than if you're
you know,
golfing and you're playing subsequent par fours and you're gonna, say you're on hole number one,
yeah,
you're gonna make an adjustment on number two based on what you did on number one, and then so on and
absolutely.
so forth, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
So the blue ball, I think they might try and find another color for. The other balls are fine. I think it was pink, orange, and yellow.
okay,
So,
all right,
and for those asking, we use different color balls. So that way, when they land out there, each position, they know who's hitting what and what color each individual is hitting to call it back.
smart, yep.
The other thing I think everyone's
Well,
going to
that
kind of,
way, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off,
yeah,
but that way I'm thinking, like, okay, so when you're in a group playing with your buddies, you initial your ball, whatever it is, you mark
yes,
it, like, but with the different color, you get immediate results on that, right? So, like,
yes.
if two of them are landing in certain spots, I can say, okay, Martin Borgmeier hit it this far, Ryan Gregnol hit it this far, so I can see that. That'll give you an immediate feedback when it goes back to the caller. Okay, I like that.
Oh, and then the nice part is you can see the number come up, or if it's not coming up quick enough, you can talk to your caller, and they'll try and give you as much feedback as they can give you.
Right.
So again, if you hit that one 390, but you needed 400, well, now you better step on the gas a little bit.
Okay.
It's those, or hit it a little higher, or make whatever adjustment you feel necessary at that time. Because I remember, I think it was the one set I ended up winning on Friday, and Justin James hit his first ball 401, and I think I hit my third ball 388. I went OB, hit, I think I went OB, and then I went 392, and I seen the 92 come up, and I'm like, okay, I gotta hit it harder. Like, it's kind of do or die for me at that point as far as the points wise. And so I ended up just a little bit more, and that little bit more rolled out 10 yards. So I ended up winning the set by 1 yard over Justin James, which was like, okay, you're still in the mix because you got 200 points instead of 100 points. And now you're not, I ended up still having a grind, but it just put you in a better position. But those small little things from your ball caller can make all the difference. So, and they're volunteers, right? Like I think Landon Gentry's fiance, wife, girlfriend, another guy's wife, and one of the Ryan Riesbeck, one of the hitters and organizers, was on the fourth tee calling balls. So, they're doing a great job. They understand the sport. They know how everything goes. So it's very much, a group effort, on the tee with your ball caller. The other thing is obviously shot tracers. We would love if they could figure out a way to have a track man on every tee and a shot tracer for every ball. Whether that's going to get a little mixy, I don't know what the word would be, but
Yeah.
if all four guys hit at once, and then the two guys on the end, one slices, one hooks, they cross in the air, and the shot tracers cross, and there could be some funny patterns going off there for the viewer.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they can figure something out if they, keep the colors organized and whatever. It could be something for people to get used to, maybe.
I think that would be a bit tricky to have that in live, like immediate feedback on the tracers, right? But I'm thinking of that the Konica Minolta Swing Vision cam that they use.
Oh yeah.
Again, don't know why they. I don't know why I know what the sponsor is for that, but I think that would also be really cool for us to see, because all the time, like Kyle will post like a video, or you'll post a video and a side angle shot, or essentially face on, right? So
right.
I love seeing that. And one of the things, like, they do like the C pattern or the swing pattern of of the club, right? I think that would be really cool to see how your club travels compared to, Tiger or Rory or whatever it is, right? So it's nice,
there could be, in next year, there could be 10 times the amount of cameras there. That's, we're hoping, and I think for the viewers, what they would like is like a grid camera as well.
Yeah.
So something out on the grid to kind of see where the balls are landing. Now we're talking like full production, right? Like this isn't going to be a couple cameras like it was for the PLDA this year. This is going to be a full production. They're going to have a lot more behind it, but that's hopefully what the sponsor dollars will come pay for and help out with. And, maybe an organized full on television camera. Maybe we get picked up by a network next year. Who knows?
Yeah.
But there's certain things I would love to remain. I'd love for the rawness of the YouTube to remain. Whether that would be something a company would be willing to give up, for the first few days at least, and then they could pick up the finals, or, something along those lines where, maybe we pick up the first week, we do it the same way for the first 3 or 4 days. And then once, the finals come about, they pick it up from there moving forward. But yeah, it's just because the rawness factor of how they did it this time to me was great with the announcers and, the amount of fun we had. They didn't ice us. When we say iced us, we kind of talked about it before, stopping us mid-flow or stopping us to wait for a commercial break, turning the music down, blah, blah, blah.
I guess that's where you kind of like, where do you draw the line, right? So
yeah,
because obviously, like, as a competitor, you want there to be more money in the sport too, because you have a lot of expenses to go down there. You heading down and Sarah going with you, the expenses for both of you to be down there, renting a vehicle, all of that is a lot of money to invest, right?
Yeah.
So obviously having a sponsor in there is going to be great, but it is going to change it back to that feel that, might have had a bit of a negative effect at times. But yeah, like you said, if you can run a live stream the whole time, if the, whatever the sponsor may be that picks it up would be on board with that, I would love that. Because I think I would tune into that. I'd throw it on the TV to support too, but the live stream and kind of seeing all the different things go on was cool. As a fan experience, was awesome.
Yeah. Well, and the awesome part was I think you could kind of hear the crowd a little bit in the live stream.
Yeah.
Probably not like we could hear it, but that was part of the Golf Channel, was unless you kind of got the crowd going yourself on the Golf Channel, it was pretty quiet.
Right.
Whereas like this time they were, and I posted about it on Facebook today, but like they were in it. They were completely involved. They were there. They I assume they were all loving it by the reactions they were having. Like I said last time we spoke, it was like the ball comes off the face literally anywhere straight, they go nuts. A number gets posted that's relatively decent, or even the first number posted, they go nuts. Bryson gets up to the tee, they're literally going nuts the whole time.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant about the fly ball, right? Like hitting a fly ball, like you go to the Rogers Center and somebody hits a fly ball and everyone's cheering and you're like,
Oh yeah.
This is nowhere near a nowhere near a home run, but like anyway, it's cool though because that's how you grow the sport. That's how you get more people
Well, and
involved,
that's
right?
there's so many people like, and I can't just speak for myself, but I think every other long driver that participated and was there, their followings have grown.
Yeah,
And it's we've kind of from not being together. This is my personal, because a lot of the American guys have hit together all year and they've been to events together all year, but being able to connect with guys that I was only talking to through Instagram
yeah,
and actually being like, you're actually in person, like, hey, how's it going, man? Like, you've talked to each other for a year but you've never actually connected, and now you're all there at this mecca of an event where it's like, for the rest of however long, whatever happens to long drive, hopefully that's not it, but you can say you were there,
yeah.
and
It
it
kind
was,
of reminds me of like the old. I don't know if you ever watched Pumping Iron with Arnold, but
yeah,
kind of just like all the guys sort of getting together and being able to kind of connect for the whatever the big event is or a competition. It just sort of
yeah,
reminds me of that. And I've seen now, like it's been a couple weeks, so I've been able to see a lot of the coverage and seeing like Martin Borgmeier and Tyga and stuff like that. Like those are very infectious personalities that will help
yeah,
the sport. And you said you talked to Martin quite a bit, right? So
yeah,
he's in Germany. I'm sure that you guys don't see each other that often just at these
yeah,
big events. So it's nice to kind of kick them back off. But there's always going to be some good with some bad. And what
absolutely,
might be good for me is as even your fan, what might be good for me might be bad for you when you're in the competition, but you got to take some good with the bad. And it seems like PLD did a great job. I
yeah,
really love the event. But let's quickly let's move on. I appreciate you taking all the time to talk about the event because it was
no
fascinating
problem.
for everybody. But I want to learn a little bit more about you. If you always love asking somebody if they had the opportunity to play with any other three players, make your dream foursome, who would they be? Who would these three players be?
Okay, preface, in their prime,
Yep.
get AIDS equipment, spec however they wanted, I don't even care, whatever. Nicholas, Hogan, and Tiger.
Okay.
That's my, and it's funny because I think it was on Instagram today. Spent a lot of time on Instagram today, but it was like their top purse winnings of
I
whatever
saw
event,
that. Man, I saw
and
that.
I'm
Yeah.
looking down and I'm like, Tom Watson's highest earnings ever was like the 2009 British Open when he finished like 32nd. And I'm like, how many events? Like, Tom Watson's won a ton of golf events.
Yeah.
Hogan's, I think, was 12,500.
I saw the one that really actually stuck out to me was Jack, right? Because like we all like I say Jack, like I know Jack, like
Right. No.
Jack. Everybody knows when I say Jack who I'm talking about. But I think it was 177K or something like that. And I thought
Yeah.
to myself, I was like, he didn't play that long ago. And if you're to pick the three guys that you just talked about, they're gonna be in everybody's top five. Arnold's gonna get Arnold.
Yeah.
He's gonna get mixed in there. Arnold Palmer is going to get mixed in there. You might mix in like a couple more recent guys, maybe Phil. There's a few guys, right? Like
Yeah.
that you can kind of like interchange in those top five. But if it's kind of crazy to see that like the money has changed so much. Patrick Cantlay just
Oh,
won $15 million in one event. Like
oh,
it's insane. It's insane. But okay, so you're going to take those three guys, right?
yeah.
Stack them up. You know, all the same equipment, all in their prime. Who is the best of those three in your opinion?
Oof, oof. I mean,
That's another level
that's,
question.
yeah. It's tough to bet against 2000 Tiger.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't care equipment wise. You probably could have gave him wooden clubs and he would have won that U.S. Open. Like,
Yeah.
it was another level. But yeah, I just because I think Hogan would have had trouble figuring out the loss of his irons. He would have had to game this stuff for a while.
Yeah.
Jack's ball would have flew too straight because he wouldn't have been able to he wouldn't have been able to hit the fade with the technology now like he did then. So he would have been in the left rough all the time. I got to give it to Tiger. I got to.
That's an impossible question. It really is. It's like, you know, the
Well,
Jordan, LeBron.
Hogan no longer
like,
has a hook because the ball's too straight.
Yeah.
Right. Jack no longer has a fade because the ball's too straight. And Tiger's the only one that's been able to go through every era with every type of ball they've used.
Yeah.
Jack has played every ball, but not in his prime.
Right.
At the swing speeds he was likely at when he was in his prime. So that's just, I got to give it to Tiger based on playing the technology during his prime or something very close to the technology during his prime.
No matter what you say, somebody's not gonna like it. A lot of
I
people are
don't
gonna
know.
like it. It's whenever you put up like the Tiger Jack debate,
They're also going to say I can't putt and they're
yeah.
not half wrong. Or can you putt? Or
Yeah.
if I go to a golf course and I get asked, if I go to a course I've never played before and the discussion comes up and they're not in my group but can you putt? I'm like, no, but neither can anyone else. So
Yeah.
it's super irrelevant question.
All right, Ryan. So here we do something called the Swing Oil segment, hydrated by Triple Bogey Brewing. I know you're a fan of beer as well as I am, and they always take care of the podcast. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. Switch them up here on you a little bit, but you'll have no
Okay.
problem with them. Just lob an answer back, and then we'll let you go. We can watch some hockey. Longest drive you have ever recorded, competition and non-competition.
Ooh, course. I think course I've hit one 480.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Small drive.
I got to go by measurement of the hole, how close I was to the hole after. It worked out to be, it was a 520-yard hole. I had 40 yards.
We get it, man. We get it. It's cool. Okay.
You know.
Okay. It was long. It was long. In
Yeah,
competition,
it was a good
in competition, what's your furthest?
416.
Okay, and 402 was your longest this
Yeah.
okay, at this Worlds, okay. If you're next year you get the option to have a walk-up song when you walk up to the block, what would that song be?
That's like the Zurich.
We can come back to it. Leave it. We'll come back to it.
That's so good though.
I'm gonna give you a couple layups and then we're gonna come back to that one.
Okay.
Fastest club speed ever recorded.
157 on a GC quad, 153.1 on TrackMan.
Okay,
so they read differently. So I got the gold standard to us is TrackMan, so we'll say 153.1.
Okay, but yeah, you were saying that they do read a couple miles per hour off. Okay.
Yeah.
Fastest ball speed ever recorded.
226 on quad, where that reads the same as a TrackMan.
Okay. I know you've got some powerlifting background. Best pre-competition meal could be powerlifting, could be, before you get up to the long drag grid, whatever it is.
I got to go night before, powerlifting night before sushi. Usually because I've carb depleted for weigh-ins when I powerlifted. So sushi over a couple hours. I paid the extra to stick around and just slowly lob it in there.
Yep.
And then, long drive, usually we hit in the afternoon. So I just have a hearty breakfast.
I can't see you shoveling back like 60, 70, 80, 100 pieces of sushi before a long drive comp.
No, whenever I'm in the States, it's something to do with biscuits and gravy. I don't know why, but it's something because we don't get it here, that when I'm down there, it's, high carb load, high fat content, lots of calories. I don't really like to eat while I'm hitting.
Yeah.
So I eat that, if I'm hitting at 2, I'll eat that at like 9.
Perfect.
And that's kind of my.
Okay, we're back to it. Walk up song.
Oh man, it's got to be something hip hop. That's who I am. Maybe a DMX song.
DMX, love it. Okay.
Powerlifting.
If I could make a suggestion, it would be my guy Blaklroy. I don't know if you've ever heard him, but he does a great intro here, and he just
it would
did
be something. Yeah.
Yes.
Like RORY does.
All golf related.
For me, I'm down.
Perfect. All golf related rap music. I know he just put out Stick Talk with Roger Steele. Great song. Go check it out. Rory Blackroy's been letting us use his music for the intro pretty much since we started the pod, which is amazing. Favorite golf beer?
Triple Bogey.
Of course. That is the Swing Oil segment, hydrated by Triple Bogey Brewing. Thanks so much, Ryan. Really appreciate you coming back on the pod. We always end up talking a lot longer than we first planned, but I really appreciate you taking time.
No problem, man.
Anybody who stayed along with us this 57 minutes, whatever we're at now, this is a top 10 hitter in the world right here. So if you ever are looking to get involved in the sport, Ryan, how can we get a hold of you? I know you're accessible to people, fans, anybody who might want to kind of get into the amateur side. How do we get a hold of you? And what would you suggest anybody looking to do so?
Yeah, so I mean, my personal is Ryan Gregnol Fitness on Instagram. That's gonna probably be my easiest. You look me up on Facebook, Ryan Gregnol as well. Um, wanting to get involved, go to a couple websites. Pro Long Drivers of America. That's your Pro Long Drive Association. Sorry, I'm just stuck with the America thing from the old days when it was Long Drivers of America. So PLDA, and then there's a few other options within Canada. We have Amateur Long Drive, which Fareen Samji runs. Or is one of the organizers for people looking to get started in the sport. They do a lot of good content on their page as well. I think they're going to run a couple events over the winter indoor. They're going to do some info sessions and stuff like that, which I'll likely be a part of as well. But yeah, if you're looking to get involved, I mean, just shoot me a message. I can send you in the right direction. Won't be any problem at all.
Awesome. I know.
Always looking to grow the sport, because as I looked through the program and I got listed as a veteran, and I'm like, man, I guess I am getting old.
You got to bring somebody under your wing. If I can, I'm pretty sure his name was Josh Fowler, young guy.
Yeah.
And I was playing at Dundas in the boys and girls, like it was a charity event, I guess. So he was on the 60, and yeah, so we could use him to hit our ball. And I just come off, I'm not going to talk about it, but I just come off the best tee shot of my life, like easily. And so we get up there, and like he's, 16, whatever it is. The first one, he said he'll take a couple or whatever. And he kind of like hooked one like pretty bad, right? So we're, younger guys on the tee with him or whatever. His dad was there. And then the next one, he piped probably, I would say 370 down the right side. It was a nice ball. It was really good. So a lot of good young players in Canada. And I'm happy to grow the sport. I want to get out to some events, and you and I got to get out and golf too, Ryan. But thank you again.
I want strokes though. I want strokes.
I'm not giving you any strokes at all. My game is I have a son who is 5 weeks old right now, and my game has been delayed or put on, but okay. I'm hoping to get a few.
Next year we'll play all even then.
Yeah, I like it. But thank you for everybody who's tuning in over on the Screws Podcast over on YouTube. If you can hit subscribe, really appreciate it. Like the video, try and get it into the weird algorithm, whatever it is. Get out there so people can learn more about long drive, and following us at OTS Golf. Ryan, thanks again. When you go to your next event, we're gonna have you on again. Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to have you back on, and I know it's fascinating. The sport is growing. We're all looking forward to it. So all the best to you, and
thanks for having me.
I hope you heal up well, and we're looking forward to seeing you back out there, man.
All right, man.
Take care.
Cheers.
He's out in my ball in the course where I tee up. I lose the ball and I re-up. I miss a fairway, I probably end up in the ocean or maybe the beach. And I'm on a par 5 and I'm finna go reach it. Second was blind, I ain't see it. Feel like it might be an albatross working.